On today's show, what are the LA Clippers' regular season goals? What is their record going to be? Going to be talking about it all on today's Locked On Clippers.
You are Locked On Clippers, your daily Los Angeles Clippers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, sir. You were locking in with the Clips. Thank you for making Locked On Clippers the first listen of your day, your team every day. I'm your host, Darian Vaziri, born and raised in LA, been a Clipper fan for this being my 21st season. Been covering the team on my own YouTube channel, Dime Dropper, for 6 years and 4 right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell to get us to 8,000 subscribers, I guess, before the end of the month. And of course, you can listen wherever you get your podcasts. This episode is brought to you by absolutely nothing. So, Clipper Nation, today is the day we have finally been waiting for. Opening night of our season against the Utah Jazz. But I'm not actually going to talk about that game in this episode. I'm going to be speaking about the goals that we need to have in this regular season, my prediction finally for our record, and why it's imperative that we get off to a quick start. First off, if you're a longtime listener of Locked On Clippers, you know that I have some basketball convictions. And one of those convictions is rooted in history. And that is that if you're not a top 3 seed, the chances of you winning a championship are slim to none. Last year, my theory almost got tested again. The Indiana Pacers were the 4th seed and went all the way to the finals and were 1 game away from winning the whole thing and winning 3 series as a lower seed. But they didn't. And part of why is because they played a Game 7 on the road. And the chances of winning an NBA Finals Game 7 on the road are very slim. The 1969 Celtics know what that's like. The 1974 Celtics know what that's like. But the 2016 Cavs know what that's like. But there are not many teams that know what that's like. It's very hard to win a Game 7 in the finals on the road. It's very hard to win a Game 7, period, on the road. So the champion was a number 1 seed, the best record in the NBA last year, the Thunder. The year before, it was the number 1 seed in the East, the Boston Celtics. The year before, it was the number 1 seed in the West, the Denver Nuggets. And the year before that, it was the number 3 seeded Golden State Warriors. The last 3 champions have been number 1 seeds. Does that mean the Clippers have to have a number 1 seed? No. But there are only 2 teams who have won a title in the NBA that have been below a 3 seed in the regular season. The 69 Celtics and the 95 Rockets. And what do I always say about those 2 teams? They just came off a championship. We are not in that position. We need to get a top 3 seed. If we want to be a serious contender to win a title, we need to be a top 3 seed. We were a top 3 seed in 2014-15, and we were a top 3 seed in 2013-14, and in 2019-20. But in 2019-20, we didn't reap the benefits of being a top 3 seed. We were actually a top 2 seed. That was the highest we'd ever finished. But because the playoffs were in the bubble in Florida, we didn't actually host any series. But part of why we made it to the second round in 2014 and 2015 is because we hosted Game 7. And I was at both of those games. They were electric. I don't think we would have won those series if we weren't at home. So our goal needs to be top 3 seed. And it's so funny because James Harden actually made a comment a couple of days ago about being a top 3 seed. So maybe that's something that's being talked about in the locker room and, amongst the coaching staff and in the team, that we need to shoot for a top 3 seed, because it's not just that history says that, a there's only two teams that have won that have been top three. It's partially because in the second round of the playoffs, you're gonna be a lower seed if you're third. If you're first or second, you're hosting a second round series, which is something that we're not, as Clipper fans, very accustomed to. We're always on the road in the second round. So that would be huge for us if we can host a second round series by being a top three seed. Now, granted, if the 2 seed wins, we're not hosting a second round series, but I'm just saying top three, at least three. Now, some might say, well, I think 4 is fine. 4 is not fine because you're most likely playing the number 1 seed in the second round. So usually, whoever does win that 4-5 or is the 4 seed loses to the 1 seed. So it's very important that we get a top 3 seed. It's going to be the same thing that I'm preaching all year long. And you know what? The year that it felt so like inevitable that we were going to get a top 3 seed was that 2023-24 season when we were the number 1 seed for 24 hours and then boom, just like that, we had that slump towards the end of the season. And we finished at the 4th seed. We play against a very solid Dallas Maverick team who made the finals but didn't win. And again, some people have this idea that like if you make the finals, you have a chance to win. I don't necessarily agree with that because in my opinion, there are some teams that have made the finals in NBA history that had no chance of really winning it unless a bunch of injuries befell the other team. The 2020 and 2023 Miami Heat, they were not going to win the championship. Like, I never thought for a second they were going to win the championship. They just didn't have the talent. The 2002 and 2003 Nets, they were not going to win the championship. The 2018 Cavs were not going to win the championship. I guess you can say they had a chance based on, being there, and it's 50-50 at that point. But it's like not really 50-50. There is a team that's better than them, straight up. So for me, especially being in the West, us getting a top 3 seed in the Western Conference will give us that realistic chance for me to be a championship contender. Now, I know what everybody's going to say. Everyone's going to say that's been listening to my show, Dime, you already said you don't think we're a real championship contender. That is true. I don't think that we're a true championship contender. Like, there's no world where I picture us winning the title this year. And I know that's very depressing for some fans to hear me say because they're like, how could you be a fan and say that? I don't view the game as from a fan's perspective in the sense of with the sport of basketball of like just throwing every single piece of logic out the window or just having like this optimism just because it's my team. I don't believe in that. Not for basketball. I put too much time into this game to lie to myself. And it's not just a coping mechanism. If you would ask me in 2023 about any team with James Harden winning a ring, I would have said no. I'm not going to switch my belief on that just because of that. And also Kawhi Leonard's health makes me a little wary. But here's my thing. If we do get a top 3 seed, then to me, we are in contention. We are a team that cannot be slept on to actually win it all. Top 3 seed. Very important. Very important. I'm trying to find that James Harden comment about being a top 3 seed. I'm like scrolling on my Twitter feed trying to find it. But anyways, here we go. James Harden said top 3 in the West, that'll give us the best chance to be the last team standing. So maybe that's being talked about behind the scenes. But coming up, I'm going to be giving my official record prediction. I got to tell you a little something about Prize Picks. Prize Picks. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Every day we make decisions, but on Prize Picks, being right can actually get you paid. Don't miss the excitement of this football season with Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. Playing Prize Picks is such a fun, simple way to add more excitement to football. You just pick more or less on player projections, like Josh Allen's passing yards or Saquon Barkley rushing for a tub, and you're in the game. My favorite part, Prize Picks just added stacks. So if I want to ride with a player, I can select their pass yards, rush yards, and touchdowns all in one lineup. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code Locked On NBA for $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. I gotta tell you a little something about Bilt. Nobody likes paying rent, but if you must, you might as well get something for it. That's where Bilt comes in. Bilt is changing the game by turning your rent payment into real rewards you can actually use. When you pay rent through Bilt, you earn flexible points that can be redeemed toward hundreds of hotels and airlines, a future rent payment, your next Lyft ride, and more. But Bilt isn't just about rent. It's about rewarding you around your entire neighborhood. I love that with Bilt, your rent finally works for you. You're earning points every month on something you already have to pay. Turn your rent into rewards and start earning points around your neighborhood by going to joinbilt.com/lockedonnba. That's joinbilt.com/lockedonnba. Make sure to use that link so they know we sent you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Clipper Nation, I am now going to be finally revealing what I think our record's going to be. So last year we finished with 50 wins, 50-32 record to be exact. We didn't have Kawhi Leonard for 45 games. We've improved in every single area this offseason. I am going to go with, drumroll please, 55-27. 55-27, which would be good for our third best record in franchise history. Now, do I think this team is better than the 2014-15 and 2013-14 Clippers? I think we have the potential to be. I think we definitely have the potential to be. I think we have a better bench. I think we have a better number one option. Sorry, prime Chris Paul and prime Blake Griffin. I would still take this Kawhi over him. I would. And I got a lot of shit for saying that a couple months ago where people were like, you're sleeping on prime Chris Paul. And it's not that I'm sleeping on prime Chris Paul. He's my favorite player to ever play with the Clippers, him and Blake. I just think Kawhi, when healthy, is that good, even still. Now, 55-27 is my mark. I think the Eastern Conference team, and the reason why I think that our record's going to be worse is because, for example, in 2014-15, right, Blake Griffin, he played damn near every game. There's this thing that exists in the NBA now that I can't stand called load management, and players just get rested because of it. Chris Paul played 82 games in 2014-15. 82. You're not going to see Kawhi Leonard playing 82 games. And not just Kawhi playing 82. DeAndre Jordan played 82, right? In the previous season, Blake Griffin played 80 games. DeAndre Jordan played 82. So when you have two of your top three players playing every single game, that changes things. So that's why I got us at 55-27, which would be a great record, and I think for sure a top three seed if we can get that record. For sure. And that should be the goal. So looking at our schedule, right, I think what's going to be very, very important is the Eastern Conference games. Because there's a lot of trash we can take out in the East. Games that we should be able to win. Now, looking at the Eastern Conference standings, right? Here are some teams that I think we should sweep. Even if a player or two are out, we should still beat them in both games. One, the Boston Celtics. When was the last time I said that? But we should beat them. We're better than them. They have a lot of, they lost Drew Holiday. They traded Kristaps Porzingis. They don't have Jason Tatum. Will they be as bad as some people think? In my opinion, I'm a little bit higher on the Celtics than others, but we should beat them twice. The Chicago Bulls. And mind you, I know I'm not going to be right on this. We're going to lose some of these games, and they're going to be disappointing losses, and you're going to have disappointing losses throughout the course of a season. But if we can minimize those disappointing losses to teams that we should beat, I think we'll be primed for this 55-27 record. I mean, I would love if we could win 58 games and set the franchise record for wins. I mean, I've never seen the Clippers win 60. I was an idiot when I first started hosting this show. To start the 2022-23 season, I was like, we're winning 60 games. We won 42 games, and Paul George missed 51, and Kawhi missed 82. We're winning 60 this year. and I look like a clown. So I'm going to go with, even if we won, I mean, a big part of me wants to say 58 and just say that we're going to break the record, but I'm just going to keep it safe and go 55 just because I'm not super confident about the amount of games that Kawhi is going to play. But like in theory, you get 40, like you're not going to get 45 more games of Kawhi that he plays 82, but you're probably going to get, knock on wood, like at least 20 to 30 more games of Kawhi, right? At least 57 to 67 games. Now, the Chicago Bulls, I think that's a team that we should beat twice. That would be 4 wins right there. The Indiana Pacers, I think that's also a team we should beat twice. We lost to them at home last year. I was at that game, sitting in the third row. Did you catch that vlog on Dime Dropper? That's 6. Then there's the Miami Heat. We swept them last year. I think we should sweep them again. Love Norman Powell, but we should beat them. That's 8 wins right there. The Milwaukee Bucks, they won't be a pushover, but why shouldn't we beat them twice? Like, why not? Glenn Rivers, KPJ is their starting point guard. Like, we should beat them twice. That would be 10-0, or 10 wins right there. Brooklyn, no, love Terrence Mann, doesn't matter. No questions asked. We should beat them twice. 12, and that's 12 wins right there. Washington, that should be 14. And then Charlotte, that should be 16. I left out Toronto, Philly, Orlando, New York, Detroit, Cleveland, and Atlanta, because I think those teams will be a little harder. But I just named right then and there the Celtics, the Bulls, the Pacers, the Heat, Bucks, Nets, Wizards, and Hornets. That's 8 teams. That should be 16 wins off the bat right there. Just 16 automatic wins. And then hopefully we'll get the rest from the West. The West is a gauntlet, though. Like, outside of the Jazz, I think every single game is going to be tough. Just depending if people are healthy. Of course, you're going to have injuries throughout the season that are going to make games easier and harder for us when we have injuries. But 55 wins is my mark. And I have us finishing 3rd in the West. I did a prediction show on Dime Dropper on Tuesday. You can check that out on podcast or on my Dime Dropper channel. I had the Clippers finishing 3rd behind the Denver Nuggets and the Thunder. But I will say this too, after watching opening night and seeing the Thunder without J-Dub and then the Rockets, then the Lakers and the Warriors, I'm confident that we're better than every single one of those teams except for the Thunder. I think we have a lot more offense than the Rockets. They don't have a high-level point guard because Fred VanVleet's out. We have, like, Chris Paul would start for them. Straight up. Like, 40-year-old Chris Paul would start for them. And then the Lakers, like, no. Like, they're just not that good. Like, I know LeBron didn't play, but they're just not that good. Like, we're much deeper than they are. We have better point of attack defenders. We have a better starting center. We have a better backup center. We have more shooting. Like, we're just better than them. And then the Warriors, I just think that they have no answer for Zoo. Like, they have zero. We have, like, I think Brook Lopez might start on the Warriors. I just think we're better than them as well. So for me, our chances of, like, to me, the only team that's actually better than us, and I can say with confidence that they're better than us, is the Thunder. I think Minnesota might give us some problems because they're young and athletic and they're really good defensively. But Denver, I think I think we literally built our roster with the thought of Denver in mind, with Aaron Gordon, with Jokic. That's why we got Brook Lopez. That's why we got John Collins. So my prediction, 55-27, 3rd seed. Hopefully that'll be good enough for the 2 seed. If we get the 2 seed, we're actually a contender. That would make me, like, kind of turn my head a bit. But we'll see. Kawhi still has a lot to prove in the sense that he can still lead a team to a title even after all these injuries. And James Harden has a lot to prove to everybody they can win a title as such a big part of a team. So coming up, going to be talking about why getting off to a good start is very important for your LA Clippers. I got to tell you a little something about Rugiet. Let's be real. Making excuses doesn't solve anything. We've all heard them before. It's just stress. I'm tired. Or it happens to everyone sometimes. But when it comes to performance, sometimes your body just needs a little extra support. And that's where Rugiet comes in. Rugiet.com offers fast-acting, doctor-prescribed treatments for ED designed to help you stop making excuses and start making moves. If prescribed, your treatment ships discreetly straight to your door. The process is fast, simple, and private, and it's all handled by real doctors. Visit rugiet.com/LockedOnNBA to get 15% off your first order. That's rugiet.com/LockedOnNBA. And don't forget to use our code LockedOnNBA so they know we sent you. Rugiet. Stop making excuses and start making moves. All right, Clipper Nation. So the season is upon us. Wednesday night, Clippers Jazz live from the Delta Center. I'm excited. Unfortunately, I'm only going to be able to watch the first quarter or so live, maybe not even that. I'm going to stay off Twitter. I'm going to have to delete the app and like mute all my text notifications because there's like no way for me to avoid a Clippers score these days. I have a men's league game. And so after that game, I'm going to go home and put that game on right away, go live, and then we're doing Locked On. We got to win this game. We have to win this game. And I know it's no such thing as a must win in game one. And if we lose, we're just going to say it's one game. But like, nah, like we were in 2022-23, part of the reason why we fumbled that season so hard, and I consider it the most disappointing season in the history of our franchise, is we squandered the chance to come out of the gates flying and take advantage of an easy schedule. We won the first game against the Lakers. We won the second game against the Kings. So we started out 2-0. We lost to the Suns, which was, fine because they were at the peak of their powers at that point. And then we play the Thunder and we have guys missing the game. We just weren't serious. This season, we've been gifted another pretty generous schedule, and we have to take advantage of it, and it starts on Wednesday. Utah on the road. The thing is, every single game in the West, as I mentioned, is going to be a gauntlet. You have 13 teams beside us that have play-in or playoff aspirations. No pun intended. The Jazz are the only team, I think, where their fan base does not expect the play-in this year. The Pelicans want to make the play-in. The Blazers want to make the play-in. The Suns want to make the play-in. The Kings want to make the play-in. The Spurs and the Mavs want to make the playoffs. So we need to take advantage of every game against the Jazz and beat them up. And it starts on Wednesday. And it's not just Wednesday. Then you got Phoenix at home. I mentioned this in a couple of episodes ago. We have a score to settle with Phoenix. I don't care that KD's gone. I don't care that Nurkic is gone. I don't care that Bradley Beal's on our team anymore. The Phoenix Suns are the only franchise in the history of the NBA to beat the LA Clippers in 3 different playoff series. 2006, 2021, and 2023. We've lost to the Rockets twice. We've lost to the Jazz twice. And we've lost to the Nuggets twice. But we've never lost to any team 3 times besides one. The Buns. We have to beat them. Even last year, when we were the 5th seed and they missed the play-in, they swept us. Like, that's not acceptable. And we blew that horrendous game before James Harden kind of turned our season around with the Detroit 50 ball. When we were in Phoenix on TNT, Stan Van Gundy was clowning them, saying they were quitting on national TV, and then they came back, and that dude Ryan Gillespie went off. I was so pissed. But we need to beat Phoenix. So that makes us 2-0. Then on Sunday, we got Portland. I should be there as well. Just hope my tournament doesn't go that late. We got to be 3-0. And that Blazers game won't be easy, but like their best player is Shaedon Sharpe or Denny Avdija or Drew Holiday. Like our best player is Kawhi. Like what are we talking about? We should go 3-0. And then at Golden State will be tough. Like I won't mind if we lose that game. Then we got the Pelicans on Halloween. I will not be at that game, but we should win that because we're better than the Pelicans. And we always struggle against them. I know what everyone's going to say. We always struggle against them. Man, if this is a different Clipper team, we have to have different Clipper habits. Forget that Pelican stuff. Let's beat them up. That would be 4-1. And then Miami for Norm's return. That's got to be 5-1. No ands, ifs, or buts about it. And at this point, there's no back-to-backs yet, so no excuses because Kawhi should be playing in all these games. Then we have our first back-to-back. I think what we should do is we play hard in that first game. We play Kawhi in that first game, and then against OKC, if Kawhi needs to sit that second night of a back-to-back, we rest him, and we'll just do a scheduled loss. But I don't think it's going to be like we just roll over. It's going to be without Kawhi, which means that Beal gets to step up, which means that other guys get to step up. But if we lose to OKC, I'm not tripping on that. But if Jalen Williams doesn't play, no J-Dub, no Kawhi, probably advantage OKC, but we should. I mean, that changes the odds. So let's say we lose that game. We're 5-2. Then at Phoenix, should be 6-2. We should win every game against them. And then, I'm not saying it's going to be easy. And then we're back playing Phoenix on ESPN on Saturday, November 8th. That should be 7-2. And then Atlanta on Monday, November 10th, 8-2. They're a good team, though. That game will be on NBA TV. Our first nationally televised game is at Golden State next Tuesday. That'll be on NBC and Peacock. So 8-2. That would be huge. I would take 7-3, but 8-2 would be massive. Like, I really would love that if we could start the season like that. I just think it's very imperative we get off to a quick start. James Harden, again, said it best. This Western Conference is a battle. It's a gauntlet. There's a lot of good teams out there. You want to take advantage of these kind of easier schedules because then you've got Denver, at Dallas, at Boston, at Philly, at Orlando, at Charlotte, at Cleveland, at the Lakers. You go on your largest road trip of the season after that, or longest road trip of the season. So we got to start in a fashion in which we put the league on notice. We're high in the standings early, not making a late push. We can make a late push, but let's focus on the early push. And it all begins with Utah. That's all that matters right now is Utah. One game at a time, Clipper Nation. And I'm excited to say that we're back after what was the longest offseason ever. And it was a tough offseason for me. Like, I cannot lie. Like, I've never felt the pain of this offseason. It's not because we lost, but it was like personal stuff, And like for the first time, like I really missed all of you. Like I really missed doing this, and I really missed being at games and the camaraderie aspect and the way the fans make me feel. They make me feel like I'm making a difference, like I'm doing something impactful, and you can't really put that into words. This experience means a lot more to me than, just watching the Clippers play like it did when I was a kid. I feel like a part of a community now, and Intuit Dome is the palace in which we all congregate, and it's really just for us. And like, I just can't wait to interview fans at that game on Friday. Like, I really cannot wait. So I'm excited, man. I'm excited for Brook Lopez's debut. I'm so excited to see Chris Paul in a Clipper uniform again. I'm excited for Kawhi to be healthy and to prove to everybody that he's still a great player, which he always seems to have to reprove to everybody after he gets injured or something. And I'm excited for John Collins returning to Utah first game. How about it? And then Bradley Beal. Like, damn, we got a lot of new faces. I'm ecstatic. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DimeDropperPod. Subscribe to my own YouTube channel, Dime Dropper, where I'm still releasing playoff post-game recaps from last season's playoffs because I never did it. And I did a whole announcing my plans for the season. I did a Chargers vlog. I did a Dodgers vlog in the last week. And talked about my predictions for every team's placement in the standings for both conferences. And of course, you can follow or subscribe to Locked On Clippers on YouTube. Hit the notification bell so we can get up to 8,000 subscribers before the end of the month. I know I said before the season, but we didn't accomplish it. It is what it is. And of course, you can listen wherever you get your podcasts. The age-old proverb continues. Go Clippers. We back.